And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather Show. The solar uptick continues. More new sunspots have formed and risen. The radio flux has increased. We'll tell you all about it and lots more here at the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. Ooh. That's the past 24 hours in the most active zone there. A massive series of sunspots up there in the northeast. Taking a step back to look at the equatorial view, we see a lot of large plasma filaments, including one that's ejected from down here and the resulting Hyder flares that happened afterwards as splashing down occurred. We'll show you more imagery of that here in a minute. There you go. Great example of some plasma ejecting with other plasma being subjected to gravity. So here's one new sunspot that rose in the southeast. Another one formed just at the base of that filament, actually. Right in here, a sunspot just recently formed. So we'll have another uptick in sunspot number coming tomorrow and in the next 36 hours, perhaps. Here's the northern hemisphere. Again, large plasma filaments all over the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. And let's take a look at some more imagery here. Here's some more from the SDO. That's the continuum for November 21st and November 22nd to date. So a couple new sunspots formed and a couple new sunspots rose. At least two new named groups coming by tomorrow. Here's the colorized magnetogram for the same period, SDO HMI instrument. November 21st and November 22nd to date. And before we get to our volcano update, please support the channel. Consider becoming a member of the Smash Team if you enjoy the content and want additional content. Smashomash.com/Smash Team. That's our subscription services site. Smashomash.com/Smash Team. We send out email alerts. One of the many reasons to join the Smash Team. There's a bronze level, there's a silver level, there's a gold level, there's a gold annual paid-up subscription, which is the best value as it includes complimentary merch. Today's featured product is Shartlight, because a lot of people use the word gaslighting incorrectly. If somebody fails to gaslight, they've Shartlighted. Yes, gaslighting is when somebody convinces you that the past has occurred differently than it has occurred. That is called a failed attempt at gaslighting. In which case, the attempted gaslighter loses credibility, right? Because they attempted to psychologically abuse you by visiting a fake recount of the past on you. And of course, lots of folks are into gaslighting, and there's plenty of it going on right now on the internet. So when you've noticed somebody failing and attempting to gaslight you, let them know that they've Shartlighted. A failed attempt at gaslighting only craps on one's own credibility. That's today's featured product linked below the video. You can also find links at the Hemp Lucid shop. These are paid endorsements, by the way. HempLucid.com. Enter the promo code SMASHOMASH10 to save as many % on your order. SMASHOMASH10 on checkout. You can find a link to the Hemp Lucid shop, our storefront, below this video. However, if you just head to the Hemp Lucid homepage, hemplucid.com. On checkout, enter the promo code SMASHOMASH10 and save 10%. Today's featured product on the Amazon shop, another paid endorsement, is the Anti-Dentite Social Club t-shirt. You can find that in our Spacewear collection. Do you belong to the Anti-Dentite Social Club? Let us know in the comments. When somebody has their hands in your mouth, do you just want to bite their hands off? Well, you might be a rabid anti-dentite. So if you'd like a shirt with your admission that you belong to the Anti-Dentite Social Club, Amazon.com/shop/SmashoMash. And you can find all of our links on our homepage, including links to the Smash Team site, Again, our subscription services site, it was launched back in October of 2021. Thanks to the Smash Team members, these videos are brought to you in part by especially Gold and Silver Smash Team members. And if you're unable or unwilling to open your cobweb-encrusted wallet, why not press the like button? Help out the channel that way. If you enjoy the content, if you're new to the channel, press the subscribe button. But no matter what, press the like button, or else there will be ramifications. Hopefully, it will not involve your soul and the river Styx. We can only hope, folks. We've got our fingers crossed. So press the like button for goodness graciousness' sake. Dear Gond, press like already. Jeebus Gond, if you don't press like, the video can't continue. And let's get to a volcanic report, because guess what? Downgrade at the Reykjanes Peninsula. So it looked like an eruption was imminent, and now it's looking like it's less imminent. Perhaps magma has unfilled those chambers. The seismic activity has chilled on the Reykjanes Peninsula, so quieting there. Possibility of an eruption still exists, but the likelihood has dropped a bit as seismic activity has largely ceased, or at least a decreased level of activity. Sakurajima is exploding, producing a 7,000-foot ash plume. Tokono also producing about a 10,000-foot plume of volcanic ash there at Tokono. Popocatépetl, 20,000-foot plume of ash over central Mexico as it explodes. Santiaguito in Guatemala, 14,000-foot ash plume. 15,000-foot ash plume from Fuego. 20,000-foot ash plume from Nevado de Ruiz in Colombia. And headed even further south to Ecuador, we've got Sangay and Revenador, 22,000-foot ash plume from Sangay, flight level 150 over Revenador, 15,000-foot ash plume. And headed down to Peru to Sabancaya, 23,000-foot ash plume, rather. Please do not pole vault the caldera at Sabancaya. Continuing right along to earthquake activity. There are the past 90 days. We had 2 quakes of a 6 or greater magnitude, starting with this 6 magnitude near Indonesia. There is a location of that quake. And there was also a 6.7. That one right near Vanuatu. And there was a small tsunami. I saw about a 1-foot tsunami was reported somewhere, I think at Vanuatu. Nothing to really write home about. So that 6.0 occurred at 2:48 this morning. On the 22nd, the 6.7 occurred at 4:47 this morning. And then, of course, a quake in between there, right in the middle, at Papua New Guinea, a 5.0. And that's it. So not a lot of quakes. Actually, a very low number of quakes in the past 24 hours. And let's get to some more imagery from SDO. There's 171 angstroms. Ah, yes. The golden tones of 171 angstroms. It's good times indeed, from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. As El Sol has been dynamic, exhibiting a massive uptick in activity. And we'll get to coronal holes and other features here in a moment. First, let's talk stats. The radio flux now up to 190. 190 solar flux units, folks. So big uptick there in the radio flux since yesterday's video. And there's the 1-year graph to contextualize all of that. The black line is the radio flux. It's actually up here at 190, folks. So not too far from the highs that we've seen so far for solar cycle 25. And keep in mind, we are not yet at solar maximum. Next, the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard, and we still could see a little bit of geomagnetic unrest, but it's looking like NOAA's expecting things to calm down, and I would tend to agree. We've been seeing a coronal hole high-speed stream that's been causing some mild geomagnetic storm conditions. And let's take a look at Earth's magnetic moment from space. So here are the past. This is the past 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. Again, we are expecting the coronal hole high-speed stream to be subsiding here over the next, say, 6 to 8 hours. Again, this is the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. It depicts magnetohydrodynamic pressure, our geospace magnetosphere movie. Here's our ground magnetic perturbations map, and we have been seeing some aurora getting shared on X. Make sure you follow us over there. Follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament. Hashtag #NameThatFilament over there at x.com/smashomash. So there are the past 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. And again, quite a few people showing up, seeing some aurora. And there is the KP index. It made it up to 5, a G1 geomagnetic storm there, but only for a brief period of about 6 hours. Current conditions are KP4. Geomagnetic unrest continues, folks. So here's the ACE, and let's skip the ACE entirely because it has so much missing data in the past few hours. Doesn't look like a very good signal. Let's switch to the Discover. Discover turning up with about 14 protons per cubic centimeter for solar wind density. Solar wind velocity here still quite elevated at 525 kilometers per second. The solar wind of a high-speed coronal hole type continues. GOES magnetometers here are fairly chill. No major perturbations there. That's the GOES 16 and GOES 18 for the past 3 days. Then next, moving to our top view ecliptic plane field plot. One of the best pieces of predictive data that we have when it comes to forecasting what El Sol will do next. And Earth yesterday moved into a North Pole-oriented sector of the heliosphere. And if we stop this on the last image, you'll see that both Earth stereo B and stereo A. So this is stereo B right here. That is now in the North Pole current sheet Earth, and also stereo A. So North Pole current sheet here likely to persist through tomorrow's daily space weather video. And here's our line of sight field plot. Coronal fields in red and green. Solar B field in blue. Photosphere fields in grayscale. That brings us to our line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. Again, North Pole sector expected here to persist for a day or two. And that brings us to a super important feature, coronal holes in our line of sight coronal hole plot. Coronal holes are super important in that they show us the solar polar field reversal process of a solar cycle. These weren't even known about until the 1970s. And of course, that was a major breakthrough, realizing that there are holes in the corona. Anyway, there's the latest image. So we've got North Pole coronal holes. Are these ones down here? And these are all South Pole oriented coronal holes. So that's the current situation. And that Earth-facing one, that is North Pole also. So that's north. So that's what's going on. SDO 211 angstroms wavelength, a 24-hour video. And since coronal holes are currently affecting Earth's space weather and causing some people to see the aurora at some locations, we'll zoom way in on that latest Earth-facing coronal hole. We can expect some upticks in solar wind there in about 3 days from that. And next it's time for sunspots. And it's certainly been a time for sunspots. We've seen an uptick in sunspots, a big time uptick in sunspots, and we're about to see more. So current sunspot number here approaching 170 according to the Royal Observatory of Belgium. Expected to be pushing up toward 200 in the coming 24 hours because again, there are at least, let's see, it must be at least 12 sunspots that aren't named. So you can expect it to be around 177 by tomorrow at least. And it might be as high as about 190. So somewhere between 180 and 190 is a pretty good estimate where sunspot number will be tomorrow. Here's our flare scoreboard and probability monitor. The most likely place for a large solar flare right now is from 3492. So this area right here, 3492, is the ringleader as far as magnetic shear associated with those massive parade of sunspots there in the northeast. Let's switch to SDO. There's the SDO continuum. Again, we've got at least 2 new named groups, I think as many as 3. So this group here is new, and then a new group just rose up here. Right there, a new group rose. That one's pretty significant as well, so a little higher likelihood of flares on the southeastern limb. And there is the magnetogram for the same period, another 24-hour video from SDO's HMI instrument. So pretty sweet, and let's get to energetic particles and flares. Energetic particles ain't happening. We ain't got none. It's flatlined for the ghost proton flux. We could see a spike in that, especially as a coronal hole high-speed stream persists. And the X-ray flux has moved up to about a C3 background level. So background level of X-ray flux now about a C3. And no major flares in the past 24 hours. And here are some flare wavelengths, some wavelengths that are at least good to view flare events through. Keep in mind these are not X-rays. This is extreme ultraviolet light. 134 plus 94 angstroms from SDO's AIA instrument. That's pretty sweet. And of course, again, the most likely place to see a large flare is currently somewhere in the east, perhaps in the southeast, as that new sunspot rises. Next, we'll look at a star chart. That's what it's time for, star chart time. I want to know what's going on overhead, so I like to use skyandtelescope.org's star chart. We've got Jupiter, the Moon, and Saturn up there. You might be able to get a view of the 2 largest planets and the second brightest object in the sky there. And let's do a solar system forecast next. This is brought to you by the Smash News Network, Least Busted Name in News, and theplanetstoday.com. Here's where things are today. We'll advance this 1 week. Full moon coming in about 5 days. That's where things will be in the solar system on the 29th. Today's astronomy photo of the day is some galaxy. I don't know. It's a fantastic barred spiral. You can see this quite prevalent bar here making it through the center of the galaxy. It's a big bar of stars. It's galaxy IC 342. And that image, compliments of Steve Canistra. Nice shooting, Steve, on Galaxy IC 342. The astronomy photo of the day, apod.nasa.gov. And next, we'll look at CMEs. Yeah, CMEs. We had some. 2 pretty decent ones today. First, here are yesterday's frames. That's 94 frames from yesterday, November 21st. And here are today's frames. You see one out of the east, and then one out of the southeast. If you're wondering if those are earthly directed, we'll get to it. First, we'll bring into the Soho Lasco C3 as well. Is it? Looks like it's containing most of the data there. Not bad. Here's a little closer view. We'll let that play through just for sake of completeness. So here this morning around, I think it was around 8 o'clock or so, around 7:30 or so, a big CME out of the southeast. That was quite a long duration coronal mass ejection. Really just one event there. And are you still wondering if it's earthly directed? Let us know in the comments what you think while we show stereo A. Here's stereo A, where that red circle's located. Raw imagery on the left from the stereo A coronagraph, difference imagery on the right. So there is a CME early this morning out of the northeast, and then later this morning out of the southeast. We'll wait to show you our custom coronagraphs to let you know whether those are earthly directed. Because you want to have the complete story, right? So there's that latest CME. And here come our custom coronagraphs. So there's a 24-hour video. And no. The answer is those are not earthly directed coronal mass ejections. Pretty good light show, though. Let's move on to filaments. So 193 angstroms is a good wavelength through which to view filaments from the SDO. Get a pretty good view of that one launching off of the southwestern limb. 304 angstroms is maybe even a little better. But to get to really high contrast images, you would want to use the Big Bear hydrogen alpha telescope. And if somebody would have named this filament down here, now there's a solar storm blasting through the solar system. You could have had it named after somebody. However, it is not earthly directed. So, anyway, there's the Big Bear Observatory. Here is the grayscale imagery. Again, if you want to name filaments after living people, your friends, your foes, or perhaps even yourself, join us at twitter.com/smashomash, or perhaps you prefer x.com/smashomash. Thanks to our same exact number of followers over there. x.com/smashomash, follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament. Before we get to bonus features, we'll show the last couple of hours from the GOES 18 SUVI. There you go. We've got a large portion of the solar disk where we could see large solar flares. So the whole eastern limb, we could see it light up. And let's light up the bonus features segment. First thing is satellite charging hazards, and we do indeed see some satellite charging hazards here over places like Southeast Asia and the Middle East, the northern Indian Ocean. Some surface charging there as low-energy electrons are building up on the surfaces of satellites. Next, the GOES electron flux here, and actually coming up off the floor. That's the past 3 days of radiographic measurements from GOES 16 and GOES 18. Here's the one-year graph to contextualize it. And perhaps that's an indication that the coronal hole high-speed stream is ending. There's NOAA's forecast expecting relatively flat levels of electron flux, and I would tend to agree at least about 2 days out. After that, we should see a bit of an uptick in the electron flux. Here's the layer where it's measured. The F layer is at about 300 kilometers of altitude. And let's go full screen for that. There's the ionosphere in vibrational frequency. And we are seeing pretty low vibration ionosphere here, which is what you would expect during geomagnetic storm conditions. And we just came out of geomagnetic storm conditions, and we're still at geomagnetic unrest. So that's going to be sufficient to create a lot of low-frequency anomalies. And here they are. That's anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. Lots of red there on the map, consistent with geomagnetic storm conditions. We have them, and there you go. Anyway, here's the latest image. That's 2300 universal time for the ionosonde, and there is the anomalygram, anomaly in megahertz from 30-day median. Next, the WAM, which is the whole atmosphere model. Maximum usable frequency and anomaly on the right, total electron content anomaly on the left. We'll also show total electron content by itself. That's free electrons from about this area right here down to your handset. So a run of about 12,500 miles. The inner portion of the Van Allen, the inner portion of the inner portion of the outer Van Allen belt down to your GPS handset. There's the global view. Here is the anomaly in total electron content over North America. Some pretty rapid variations happening there, and some high electron content anomalies indeed over Mexico and parts of North America. We close out space weather with high-res images. There you go. There's a full disk view, and dag, that is a pretty decent number of sunspots there, especially in the east, as some also form in the west. That brings us to meteorology. It's about time, and we're starting out with the world's lowest pressure. So where's the world's lowest pressure, folks? We've got some low pressure in Canada. We've got some low pressure around Alaska, out in the Aleutians, also between Norway and Greenland. However, the world's lowest pressure is in the Southern Ocean here, south of Africa. So Southern Ocean currently showing pressures there below 950 hectopascals. That is the world's lowest pressure zone. Anyway, here are surface winds and jet streams for the planet. Surface winds of the east. Jet streams. Jet streams of the central world. Surface winds. Like sands through the hourglass of time, these are the surface winds of the Western world's lives. And these are the jet streams of the Americas. Next, clouds and fog for these here same locations. And here's a little closer view of the U.S. East Coast, since there is some low pressure breaking down there as it moves up to the north-northeast. Some action going around in the mid-Atlantic states there, just to the southeast of us. And if you're wondering where we're located, folks, we're located right about here, again in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Come ride your bike on some of the finest roads in the world with one of the finest cycling communities in the world. Next, precipitation type. We've got some snow and rain falling right now on one of the biggest party nights in the U.S. Don't get caught drinking and driving. Don't be drinking and driving. How about that? Even better yet, if you're driving, don't drink. And if you drink, don't drive. So lots of stuff going on there. Maine experiencing some wet snow. Also Idaho. Next, our weather.gov map, and lots of winter storm warnings there, especially in Wyoming. Here's the key. Winter storm warnings there for much of Wyoming, folks. And next, some forecasts courtesy of tropicaltidbits.com. First is pressure and precipitation for the next 72 hours. And there is an ice storm coming to Oklahoma and Texas. So as the snow makes its way down the Rockies, once it makes it to the southern plains, it's going to turn to ice. So be ready for that. 72-hour accumulated positive snow depth change in inches. And there will be some snow in Texas and Oklahoma as well. Also, the Rockies are going to get a decent helping there Wyoming expecting to see quite a significant accumulation there, over 10 inches in large portions of the state. Also, all the hot air in Colorado is not going to prevent it from being almost completely covered. That's the GFS 72-hour model in inches for accumulated positive snow depth change. Next, temperature anomaly in degrees Celsius for the same model, the GFS 72-hour. It's going to show you your forecast for Thanksgiving as well as Black Friday. Know if it'll be unseasonably warm or cold in your location. That is in degrees Celsius. GFS 72-hour temperature anomaly forecast. Next is lightning, and check it out. I caught Operation Bluebeam happening, folks. Project Bluebeam, Operation Bluebeam, whatever it is. Oh, there you go. Look, some blue beams there. It's totally not interference on the satellite causing a communication problem. No. It's spooky, spooky government lasers from space. Pardon my sarcasm. Anyway, there's the full run, and it looks totally jacked up, and I don't like it, so I'm going to move on because it looks like a bunch of erroneous, crappy data, not spooky, spooky lasers from space. Anyway, here's a real-time lightning map, courtesy of lightningmaps.org, and quite a few strikes right now, over 500 per minute, so it's pretty active as far as a global basis. No terrestrial strikes in the U.S., though, as winter approaches. We'll close out with U.S. Doppler radar. We won't really focus on the full 50-state view, but there it is. We'll focus on the lower 48 view, and there it is. Heaviest precipitation there is around New Brunswick, Canada. Here is clouds and fog, the shortwave radiation map from the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite, and there is a water vapor map. Here's a recap. Vertical motion in the air column, clouds and fog, and there is water vapor. And here is me closing this thing out. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to press the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off, and may that solar wind be at your back.